Okay guys, hear me out. What if we took Deltarune, but we made it yellow?
Oh, hell no!
On March 25th, 2025, a Deltarune fan game dropped on GameJolt, titled, can you guess, Deltarune Yellow. Deltarune Yellow is a parallel story to Undertale Yellow, the same way regular Deltarune is a parallel story to regular Undertale, with reoccurring characters and relationships, living in a cozy town in the surface, following a brand new story about the conflict between light and dark. I've personally been obsessed with this fan game ever since I found out about its existence, and I feel like more Deltarune fans should know about this game. That's the reason I'm making this video in the first place, to help it get the recognition it deserves, seeing the incredible potential this game has. We'll get to that, but first, what is Deltarune Yellow? As I've stated before, Deltarune Yellow is a fan game of Deltarune that you can download for free on GameJolt and itch.io. In the GameJolt page, we can find a rough timeline for this game, or rather, this idea for a game. Basically, the one I'll be discussing in this video will be the third iteration of this idea for Deltarune Yellow, with the previous two being seemingly abandoned. The current one, the one that's still being actively developed, is the one I'm most familiar with, so I won't talk about the other iterations or compare them. Okay, so quick addendum. The game got updated to version 0.1.50, and this version is the rework of day one, and many things got added, many new enemies, new stuff in general, and the core events are basically still the same, so if you watch this video it's totally fine, you will still have an idea of what's happening in the game. Still, I encourage you to play the new rework, since it's basically a complete Deltarune chapter now. Something changed about characters, especially one character, which I will address in a dedicated section, but I just wanted to say that the rework is officially out. Before doing that, I want to go over the events in-game, so we can be on the same page before we get to discuss everything else. The rest of this video will contain spoilers for the whole game, so I highly advise everyone interested to download and play the game yourselves and then come back to this video. The link is in the description. If you're already familiar with this game's events, you can skip to the next sections using the timestamps below. After booting up the game, if you get a warning before starting the game, don't worry, the game has been tested and it is safe. We select a save file. We are greeted by a battle interface, an Undertale battle interface, not a Deltarune one. We are given the option to either fight or act. As we move forward, we notice someone standing in our way. Someone blocking us from moving forward. We decide to attack that figure, only to be woken up by a monster girl screaming in our ear. Now we get to see the character we'll be controlling for the entirety of the game, Cole, a parallel version of Clover, as we are also introduced to Cole's childhood friend, Kanako, a version of Kanako not turned into an amalgamate by Alphys. Kanako teases Cole for sleeping through class, but then remarks that he looks pale, mentioning a recurring dream that we are not aware of except for what we've seen in the intro. We leave the classroom and meet up with Kanako. She's looking for something in her locker before calling us and getting ready to leave. She reminds Cole of a certain event set to happen at the end of the week, an event that will separate the two friends, possibly forever. She wants to waste no time and enjoy this week with Cole as much as possible. As we head out, we are stopped by Sadie, a classmate of Cole and friend of Kanako. She doesn't seem to be particularly fond of Cole, the way she so energetically greets Kanako, while only acknowledging Cole just to save face. Sadie says she noticed Kanako looking for something, that something being her mother's necklace, and directs us to the lost and found closet before leaving. We reach the closet, and now it's just a matter of taking the necklace and going our way. Yeah, it's not gonna be that easy. Both Kanako and Cole are taken aback by the weird darkness emitting from the closet, but Kanako is still determined to take her necklace back. She turns around asking Cole to enter together before... something grabs her from the darkness and drags her inside the closet. Cole leaps in to rescue his friend, then everything goes dark. Cole wakes up in an unfamiliar place, with weird new clothes and a misplaced eye, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but look at him, come on, he's a damn Cyclops. We march forward, dodging falling pencils and solving an easy puzzle before spotting Kanako beaten down, next to a pencil and an eraser guy. They refer to her as a lightener, a word Cole is not familiar with. They talk about giving Kanako to their boss before Cole intervenes and a battle begins. After sparring or fighting the two, we rescue Kanako and move forward with our new teammate. We press on, avoiding spinning pencils and fighting enemies, or not, they are really easy to avoid, until we reach the top of the hill, where we can spot a castle with a weird dark geyser on top of it, emitting darkness. As we discuss a plan with Kanako, Cole is almost hit by a pencil attack, as a mob of darkeners block our path, along with their boss, a used-up stitched teddy bear named Lord Bering, the ruler of this world, and hell-bent on killing every Lightner he comes across. Being outnumbered, the two start running away as the darkeners give chase, shooting pencil attacks, eventually cornering us to a cliff. With nowhere else to go, the two jump off the cliff, breaking their neck and ending the game. What a true masterpiece of a game, I really love this game, especially the part where... Okay, no, I'm just kidding. We fall in a lake where a mysterious someone spots us floating face down in the water. We wake up in a prison, with Kanako in the cell right next to ours. Kanako talks to Cole through the wall, clearly in distress for the situation, when the mysterious guy from before appears. He introduces himself as the warden, and is in charge of the prison. He asks for help about a certain situation going on, and since we are Lightners, we are best suited for the job. If we comply, he'll release us. He asks us to find and arrest some criminals, those being Darkeners, that escaped this very prison not too long ago, after a certain someone set them free. He says he'll explain everything to us, and asks us to follow him before opening the cell doors. The warden takes a similar role to Ralsa in Deltarune Chapter 1, explaining everything we need to know to contextualize the events in this game. He explains everything to us about this world, how it's split into light and dark in a thin balance, how this world will end if this balance is broken, what a dark quartz and a dark fountain are, and that there's someone trying to disrupt this balance. That being our main antagonist, the outlaw, that we are tasked to bring to justice. Interestingly, there seems to be a difference in how dark fountains work here from regular Deltarune. We'll touch on that when we get to Day 2. He hands us some wanted posters, as we are tasked to arrest the criminals depicted in them. After a quick tutorial on how to apprehend criminals, we can finally head back to Bering's domain, with a new mission to capture the criminals and seal the Dark Fountain. We reach a small city outside of Bering's castle. There's not much to do here except maybe visiting the shop for better weapons and defense or healing items maybe. Going east of the city, we continue our journey, trying to find another entrance to the castle, as the front door seems to be locked. If we pay attention, we can find a hidden door with a caped individual inside. They seem to know Kanako for some reason, and asks us to recover a missing piece of themselves. We'll keep that in mind. Progressing further east, we met a pen-shaped guy, named, very creatively, Pen Guy, that is blocking the street with their shop, and only by beating their game, they let us through and guide us inside Bering's castle. The game is a simple memory game with cards. The cards are in couples. If you couple them correctly without messing up more than 5 times, you win. You can see in my footage that I solved it first try, and I definitely did not take a picture of the cards. Trust me, brother, trust me. I mean, if you played the game as many times as I did, you would have done the same. After we beat the game, Pen Guy tells us that they'll help, if we stop this guy named Pendleton that's been bothering them. Kanako tells us that this guy is a criminal from a wanted poster, so this gives us an excuse to fight him. Pendleton is a coin-shaped criminal, charged with theft, arson, and styling his mustache without a permit. His fight is like a mini boss fight, and serves as an introduction to the Yellow Soul's unique power, that being shooting yellow particles at the enemy, in order to hit certain targets and also increase our TPs. This fight is pretty easy overall, and when he's weak enough, we can apprehend him and serve justice. After celebrating our first successful apprehension, we find Pen Guy. They painted with yellow paint some steps under an open window that we can climb on to enter the castle. Going in, we meet a brand new obstacle, a door that blocks human Lightners from going through, only allowing monster Lightners, so Kanako and Cole split up. We get to control both by switching between them using the menu button. I really like this new mechanic, and I hope we get to see it being used more in the future, maybe as an actual plot device instead of being used just for puzzles and stuff. With the path now open, we continue west, where we are granted access by beating a minigame. A simple game where we shoot at falling basketballs. You need to hit at least 10 while moving both Cole and Kanako away from being hit, which will result in losing a point. The game allows you 2 tries before opening the path anyways. I kinda wish the game gave you endless retries until you won. It looks a bit cheap as it is now, still I don't dislike the minigame, it's fun and can be a little challenging, if you suck like I do. Skill issue I guess, and adds to the overall experience of the game. Pressing on, we avoid getting flattened while we look for a way to open the door that will bring us to Lord Bering. Looking for that, we stumble in a treasure room, a room that shows us a golden bell, 2 locked doors and nothing else. Kanako recognizes the bell as part of her mother's heirloom, but when she tries to take it, the security system activates, forcing us into a race against time to save the bell before it gets crushed. This minigame forces you to master the separation and switch mechanic. If you make it in time, you can save the bell, and it becomes an equipable item for Kanako. It can look quite tense, and if you give in to panic, you risk losing the bell, so just keep calm, do the puzzles at a reasonable speed, and you'll get it. Or you can just let the bell fall in the crusher since it won't actually crush it. Pretty smart by Lord Bering, I'll give him that. Going the intended way, we enter the torture chamber, where another wanted criminal, Ringo the Torturer, tortures Bering's enemies, very on the nose there. We can fight and apprehend him. His fight is definitely harder than Pendleton, but doable. Just stay focused, especially in the concentric circles attack. If you mess up, you'll take a ton of damage. With Ringo now in jail, we can unlock the door to Lord Bering's throne room. The path is now clear to arrest him and seal the fountain. But before that, maybe the bell was the missing piece the caped guy was looking for, so let's check it out, just in case. Entering the room, the guy confirms that the bell is in fact the missing piece, but before giving it back, Kanako tries to get some information out of them. That doesn't go too well. The caped guy pushes us away and takes the bell, before revealing its true identity, that being of Seroba's necklace, looking to get revenge on Kanako for abandoning it. This is the secret boss of Day 1, and is much harder than any other boss currently in the game. It's a nice callback to Seroba's fight in the pacifist ending of Undertale Yellow, and heavily relies on the blue mechanic of Undertale. I believe the soundtrack too is from Seroba's pacifist boss fight, just slightly slowed down, without forcing a freedom leitmotif on it, thankfully. We can either fight or spare the necklace, and it will become an equipable item for Kanako, boosting her defense and magic if we spare it, or an item increasing her attack if we fight it. Heading back to the castle, we can finally begin our fight with Lord Bering, the final boss and last criminal to arrest. He tells us he'll stop us from sealing the fountain, before we enter in a battle. This boss fight is comparatively easier if you manage to defeat the fox necklace. This fight can even be a no-hit, its attacks are simple and don't get too fast as the fight progresses. His dialogues mirror the king from Deltarune Chapter 1, with Bering's hatred for Lightners. Oh, we are horrible people for trying to take away this world's life, and how we don't know what we are doing. True. In the end, you can apprehend him without issues. Lord Bering is now gone. We can finally seal the fountain and head back home. After sealing the fountain, we do get back into the light world, but in the lost and found closet we entered in the beginning. Kanako questions if it was all just a dream before realizing how late it is outside and that they need to get back home as soon as possible. The school doors, however, are locked. Without any other way out, they head back into the closet, finding a trapdoor that was definitely there before. That brings us back to the dark prison. The warden congratulates us and points us to another exit, where we end up outside the school, in a small shack inside a cave. The plan now is to head back to Cole's house, and Kanako will accompany us. However, we are now free to explore the city, and we can have a look at what our beloved characters from Undertale Yellow are doing in a world where they weren't sealed away in the underground for centuries. We find out that everyone from Undertale Yellow is now here in East Town, not the official name of the town. 3 of the 54 are now part of the police force, with 2 present in the police station and 1 on guard duty outside of town, while Mooch is now a local petty criminal that often steals from Dina, who is now the owner of a diner. Mo stopped traveling around, deciding to settle down, opening a mini-mart, though its quality might not be the best as Chujin refuses to eat whatever comes from there. Starlo is now the mayor of this town. I think people kinda expected Starlo to become a police officer along with the 54, but in my opinion, having Starlo serve as a mayor is so much better considering his character development in Undertale Yellow, his newfound maturity in the light of the pacifist ending, and it also reflects the trust and love Monster have for Starlo, elevating him to a role of great responsibility. Seroba can finally relax and live her dream life with a non-dead husband and a non-amalgamate teen daughter, while Chujin is still an engineer, but instead of building robots to dismember children, he repairs electronics and builds normal stuff. He's also incredibly racist. Marlet now has a job that we know nothing about, and also takes the role of a legal guardian and mother for Cole. There's so much more, but we don't have time for that. I encourage you to play the game yourself if you're curious about the other minor characters or little interactions. It's full of those. Back to the story. As we get to Cole's house, we find out that Marlet is not home yet. Then Kanako gets a call on her phone. It's Seroba. She answers and makes up an excuse for being out this late, stating she had to study with Cole and that she's on her way home. She also asks her mother if Cole can join them for dinner, since Mart is nowhere to be found, and she agrees. We reach the Ketsukane household, where we are greeted by Seroba. She tells us that dinner is almost ready and that she'll notify Chujin of her presence, since he allegedly doesn't like us all that much. And by that I mean he really fucking hates us, like full-on Midwestern Republican dad when his daughter brings in an Hispanic boyfriend. For now, we head in Kanako's room, to hatch a plan to spend the week together, closing fountains and saving the world, without worrying anyone if we happen to disappear for a few hours each day. After a small recap, Seroba calls us downstairs to have dinner, where we are highly advised not to sit next to Chujin. While everyone, but Cole, eats dinner, Seroba asks Kanako what she was studying at school so late, a choice that's up to us between history, sports, math or biology.
Oh my god!
Suggesting biology to Kanako brings her to say the worst things possible in front of her father. Like, come on, body stuff, unique properties of our bodies. Chujin was 100% plotting to get us lynched. After that questionable exchange of dialogue, Kanako comes up with the idea of a group project, a lie Seroba sees through clearly, stating that she understands if she wants to spend more time with Cole, since after this week they might not meet again. Chujin on the other hand is fighting so hard the urge not to call us slurs and beating her ass on the spot. As they finish eating, Chujin goes back to his room and asks Seroba to follow him there. Before she goes, we are told that Seroba gave Marlet a call and that she'll be home real soon and that we should get going. If we interact with the door in Chujin's room, we can hear his hatred for us and all humanity fully unfold. With nothing left to do, we wave Kanako goodbye, walking back home, where we find a red envelope at the front door. When we pick it up, it triggers a cutscene. Marlet returns home, giving us a big hug before we go inside. If we give the red letter to Marlet, she looks visibly shocked, but then asks us to give her the letter and talk about it another time. We're now free to explore the house, though there's not much to see. We can go straight into our room and sleep for the night. We enter another dream sequence, where we can hear Kanako talking to us. It seems like we are going somewhere. Cole looks scared, but Kanako comforts him. However, something goes wrong and Kanako appears to fall down or is otherwise in danger. We wake up immediately after. There's light outside. We are now on day 2. In the current version of the game, that being 0.1.31, day 2 is the last day and only half of it has been added to the game. Still, in its entirety, day 2 is projected to last as long as a regular Deltarune chapter. After the whole strange dream, we can finally roll downstairs, where Marlet greets us. She has to leave for work early, but made lunch for us. As we head out, a mail whale drops us some letters, one being from Mo's Minimart and the other being from Kanako. Kanako's letter basically states that she'll pick us up and to wait for her. Mo's letter is irrelevant. Probably. Hopefully. We meet her a few steps right to our house, and we head to school together, where day 2 officially kicks in. The school section begins. We are greeted by our professor, Dalv, the first boss of Undertale Yellow, and now a professor, with a degree and license to teach, maybe. Dalv starts off with a roll call, where we're introduced to almost all our classmates. After the roll call, we can begin our lesson. Class is uneventful, and before long, the bell rings for us to start recess. Sadie, whose tail clips outside the classroom for some reason, tells Kanako that she skipped softball training yesterday. Kanako replies by asking her to tell the team that she'll be skipping the whole week of training. Sadie doesn't look too happy about it, however she still accepts. Leaving classroom, we get to see Violetta, Rosa and Pedla, 3 monsters from Undertale Yellow, talking about school and stuff, before someone bumps into Violetta. She apologizes, but the other person shoves her into the wall, calling her a flower freak. This is Melody. Kanako steps in to stop her, and in turn, we also step in to support Kanako. As we are about to pull an Axis on her, the bell rings, marking the end of recess time. Melody leaves, and we check on Violetta before returning to class. Melody is now in class, but we notice now that Sadie is absent, but nonetheless, we proceed with our classes until the end of school. Kanako suggests that we go talk to the warden to get info on the new Dark Ward. As we are there, we notice that someone broke into Dina's diner. Someone that's not Mooch. Whoever is opening the Dark Wards is also trying to cause chaos in town. In the Dark Prison, the warden informs us that, excluding the one we're in right now, there are 2 Dark Fountains open, though he can tell us where they are. We return to the Light Ward, and we head to Kanako's home to formulate a strategy. That's when we spot Seroba with Sadie. Sadie went to the Ketsukane shop to get a toaster fixed for her. Seroba too is leaving. She's going downtown to buy some groceries for Chujin's delicate fucking palate, grown-ass man acting all picky, leaving only Chujin that rarely leaves his lab, meaning we get the whole house to ourselves. Upstairs, Kanako's room seemed to be locked for some reason. Kanako is confused by this, but our attention shifts to the black smoke coming from down the door. Kanako thinks it's a fire, and we rush to Chujin's room to help him. Opening his room door, we discover a Dark Ward. Having a new objective to save Chujin, along with sealing the fountain, we head straight in. This Dark Ward kinda mirrors the second Dark Ward in OG Deltarune, being a technology-oriented Dark Ward, as this is Chujin's laboratory. It looks a bit bare-bone, but it's not bad. After dodging some obstacles, we reach a big room, where we are stopped by someone. That someone being, of course, Axis Unit 014, the same Axis in Undertale Yellow, now turned a Darkener. He scans our threat level and determines that we need to be terminated, and a battle starts. He's not a really tough enemy. He also introduces us to the blue attacks if we didn't fight the Fox Necklace in day 1. After sparing him, Axis recognizes Kanako as Chujin's spawn, and decides to accompany her in her mission. Oh, and Cole too, I guess, but who cares about him? We also learn from him that Chujin is being kept here in Robotopia. To reach it, we go east, reaching a vista where we can see the fountain along with the spire. That's where Chujin is held. We also find a door leading to the Dark Prison, but we don't need to go there, so we press on. The next area includes a water gun puzzle, where we shoot water at some conductors to close electrical circuits, and fight some more Darkeners before we can finally reach a settlement of Robotopia. It's pretty empty, but there's a shop and we can buy better gear and healing items, I guess. This town also has some screens that begin projecting a Darkener along with Chujin. The Robo Darkener introduces itself as MC Toaster and is announcing, along with a very confused Chujin, that a new body for them is being built, and that they'll put an end to the war with the Interlopers. Who are these Interlopers? I don't know. But it seems like they're not talking about us Lightners, as Toaster has to specify that we are also wanted and puts a crazy high bounty on our heads. We continue further, entering this building that will bring us to a tram station. There are 2 doors blocking our path. When we unlock them, Axis gets taken away, but promises to catch up later. We trust him on that. We get to the station and board the tram. It should take us directly to the spire, so we rest for a bit. We have the time to have a little conversation alone with Kanako. The atmosphere is calm. It's a nice and relaxing change of pace after all that moving and fighting. We are notified that we'll soon arrive at our stop. However, it cannot be that easy. MC Toaster breaks in from the ceiling. We cannot run and the place is too small for a fight. All hope seems lost. Until... Axis, rocking a new and powerful body with 2 hands now, is ready to defend Kanako. Cole can fuck off, who cares about him? This fight is not a regular Deltarune fight. Instead, it takes the shape of a one-on-one fighting game, where we can punch our enemy and block incoming attacks. When I got to this point in my first playthrough, I thought the demo was nearing its end, so it genuinely surprised me to find something like this. It was really fun and a good parallel to OG Deltarune, with its reference to Mike Tyson Punch-Out! After 3 rounds, we managed to defeat Toaster. Their armor explodes, revealing their real body, that being of a scrawny looking Toaster. But it's not over yet, as they go full Ted Kaczynski mode on us and bombs the whole place. Axis jumps in to protect Kanako and the tram fucking explodes, crashing down in some dumpster. We wake up in the dumpsters. We are alone now, but we are thankfully reunited with Axis, who sadly lost his new body in the crash. Kanako, however, is nowhere to be found, so Axis has to tolerate us until we find her. We solve a couple puzzles and move on. In the next room, we find Kanako. She's passed out but doesn't seem to be badly injured. Axis doesn't know to check if she's well or not, so orders us to check instead. We can do the normal stuff, or we can do mouth to mouth. The author 100% ships them and they're not being subtle about it. Kanako wakes up to Cole holding her hand, which makes her blush. Axis tells her about the tram explosion and says that the next tram station is 3 hours away from here. As we talk, we hear someone sing in the distance. As we investigate, someone comes down from a hot air balloon. This is Banban, Kanako's plush bunny. Banban comes from upstairs, and Axis calls them an interloper, confirming that interlopers are just darkeners from Kanako's room. Banban calls Axis an interloper too, even though it was created by Chujin like the rest of Robotopia. They'll explain everything. For now, we open Banban's balloon, as we fly towards upstairs. Banban explains to us the truth about darkeners, a truth most are not ready to accept. That they are not real. They just became alive through the Fountain's will, although it is not exactly the same as regular Deltarune. It seems like in this game, Dark Worlds are not shaped by the will of its creator, but by the fantasies and memories of the Lightner most associated with a specific location, as we see with Kanako and her staff from upstairs. I hope this change stays after the rework, as it is much easier to create a Deltarune story with this premise. Banban states that someone told them all this information, clearly hinting at the outlaw. We finally arrive upstairs. The place is kinda empty, but we can see the spire from here, which tells us that there's only 1 fountain instead of 2. Banban says that there's someone who can help us with our mission. Someone Kanako isn't really happy to see, those being red, blue and green. 3 bums trying to reach the spire to bring justice to Robotopia. They claim to have a way to breach into the spire, but need something to do so, something locked in the archives. The archives being of course Kanako's old-ass computer. The archives are locked behind a password that only Kanako knows. We enter the archives and talk to this robot guarding the place. He asks for the password and Kanako writes something on a piece of paper, too embarrassed to say it out loud. The password is correct, and we are now free to access the archives. We head to the elevator and... yeah, this is where the game ends as of now. Kinda underwhelming, but we still played an entire and half of a chapter, which is not bad for a fun game this early in development. I've tried to sum up everything important that happens in the game, however I still encourage you to play it for yourself, since I did not mention many of the interactions characters have in the game, interaction that made me fall in love with this project in the first place. Also, Day 2 is getting a rework as I've stated before, so this summary is certain to become inaccurate and outdated in the future. But even as it is now, I've enjoyed it a lot. I surely enjoyed it enough to make an entire YouTube video about it. Now that we are hopefully on the same page about the story, I wanted to spend a few words on the characters we see on screen, which brings us to our next section. We start off with Cole. Cole is our protagonist and is our parallel for Clover from Undertale Yellow. There are a few things to note about Cole. The first one I wanted to talk about is Cole's gender. As we all know, Clover's gender is left to the player's interpretation and mostly referred to with they/them pronouns. This isn't the case for Cole, who is a different character from Clover. Yes, we are supposed to draw parallels from the 2 characters, but it doesn't erase Cole's identity, the same way our presence doesn't erase Chris's identity in OG Deltarune. I don't think Cole being a boy and being addressed to as such does a disservice to Clover's character, especially for a point I will bring up in the criticism section. About Cole's personality, we know he's kind of a weird kid. Not exactly in the same league as Chris, but close. We know he's obsessed with Western classics, a love that was born thanks to Starlo. He's not an outcast and seems to be fully integrated in this monster majority town. And unlike Chris, he is not a victim of bullying, as monsters, except Chujin, see him in a fairly positive light, maybe thanks to Kanako, maybe not. About his family life, we know that Cole was adopted by Marlet, and she treats him like a son. A dynamic Undertale Yellow fans, including myself, were desperate to see more of. And lastly, we know that Cole is a huge gun nerd. He spends hours in Blackjack's shop, admiring his collection, much to the annoyance of Kanako. Now, about the elephant in the room, that being us. What about our relationship as the player with Cole? In regular Deltarune, there's a clear-cut separation between us and Chris, to the point of Chris being in direct opposition to us and our desire to complete the game. Cole, on the other hand, doesn't seem to be separate from us. We get no hint of any separation by the end of day 1, where he would reasonably establish such an important plot point. The way I personally see this is that the narrative needs something truly random to determine the events that occur in the game, a randomness that only a real human being can determine. Almost like in Pokémon Red and Blue, where the AI for the game draws from the player input to generate random events such as Pokémon encounters or critical hits in battle. Just my little headcanon. Maybe Cole has some independent agency, but we just don't see enough to suggest that. Also, I think that Cole not being separate from us is a good thing. After all, we already have OG Deltarune for that kind of narrative. Instead, we should focus on other stuff, for example, Cole's past. Through the dream sequences in both day 1 and day 2, we see that something happened to Cole. Something that's causing him to have reoccurring nightmares. Nightmares he's had since before we started controlling him, as Kanako mentions them at the beginning of the game. At this point, we still don't know what these dreams mean. One depicts the outlaw as someone antagonistic to Cole, someone Cole has to fight. The second one is about Kanako, presumably off exploring with Cole, until something goes wrong and Kanako gets hurt or something and screams for Cole's help. We don't even know if these dreams are set in the past or the future yet, and unless something big about these dreams changes in the rework, we have to wait for more details in future content updates. Enough about that loser, it's Kanako's turn now. Kanako is Cole's childhood friend. She's the daughter of Serova Ketsukane and Chujin Ketsukane. She's a character from Undertale Yellow that, like Asriel, was given a chance for a happy life, instead of rotting away in the true lab as an amalgamate. I even dare to say that Kanako is the biggest selling point of this, but in general any Deltarune Yellow take, as Kanako is a universally beloved character in the Undertale Yellow fandom. Kanako is an extroverted and lively monster. She plays softball in the school team and is also really passionate about making art, romantic stories, and Team RGB, their equivalent of our Power Rangers, even though she tries to hide it. She's quite popular, as she seems to be on friendly terms with every other kid in town, with only one exception being of course Melody. We also know that she doesn't like hospitals at all. That is probably the result of past experiences. Still, Pedla says she would be a great help as a nurse. Maybe Chujin got sick, like really sick in the past, and Kanako stayed there to take care of her father. And now that he's better, she hates the hospital, as it reminds her of those moments. Her relationship with Cole is also worth mentioning. She and Cole are best friends, practically inseparable, as Sadie jokingly claims. But we also see that there's probably more to their friendship. We see Kanako visibly flustered when we tell her that we couldn't do it without her help, or when we hold her hand to check her pulse. She probably has a crush on Cole, and it's pretty safe to assume that Cole feels the same way towards her. Overall, she seems like a completely normal teenage girl with normal interests and a normal life, which sucks for us now, but this only means that she'll have a big character development in the future, so we'll just have to wait on that. Also, I hope this rework will flesh her character out a bit more, but then again, it's probably only a matter of time before we get more from this character. Now, for our best outlaw candidate, we have Sadie. Sadie is a monster girl from our class and a friend of Kanako. Her character is a parallel to Sadie in Undertale Yellow, a monster kid that we can find in the Far East, and friend of Kanako before she became an amalgamate. Her friendship with Kanako carried over to this game, though something seems off. Every time she's on screen, you can feel the tension rising, like you're on thin ice around her. She plays on the same softball team as Kanako, and it's clear that she's really fond of her. On the contrary, she seems to barely tolerate Cole's presence. She's not rude or mean towards us openly, but she's not exactly doing a good job at hiding her true feelings either. For what we see, the impression that Sadie left on me is that of someone who deeply cherishes her friendship with Kanako, and maybe she even feels something more than friendship for her. But Cole is always number one for Kanako, as she herself states. leaving her feeling spiteful even if we don't see it directly. Of course, I could be wrong, and maybe I'm reading too much into her character. After all, we only see her a couple of times during the events of the game, and we don't have much information to work with. Still, I wanted to give her a quick mention, as it's clear that this character will be far more important in the game in many ways. Also, if we dig inside the game files, we can find an unused Dark World design, along with dialogue sprites that we have yet to see for this character. She will be important, trust me.
Okay, to get just a little more specific about what changed inside this character, basically she's kind. She seems to be approving of Cole and Kanako's relationship, and she's just a nice presence now. So I don't know what to think about this character and what will become of her. Honestly, I don't know. Just know Toast Emperor robbed you of Yuri. Just know.
Lastly, we have Melody, the only other human in town. She's an original character, not having a parallel to any character in Undertale Yellow, not directly at least. We know she's the blue soul of integrity, from the recess cutscene in Day 2, the same soul belonging to the human that got mauled to death by Axis in Waterfall. So, excluding that, everything else about Melody is original to Deltarune Yellow, from her design to her personality. Design-wise, she's not that impressive. Not to say it's bad, it's just kind of anonymous in my opinion. Maybe as she opens up to us, she'll get a different design to signify it, I don't know. Personality-wise, Melody feels like the Susie of this game. A mean antisocial girl who was not really liked by her classmates for it. And I mean, it's pretty understandable in some way. As Violetta states, she probably feels isolated and scared in a town where she's the only human, excluding Cole, but is a damn traitor. Combining that with what's probably a not so happy situation at home, we have a recipe for a big old bully. The first time we see her in a story-relevant situation, she shoves Violetta for no reason, and immediately tries to fight Kanako because she's pissed off. She's also absent most of the time in school, something that's been worrying Dalb, saying that he hopes this won't warrant an escalation to the principal. Melody is clearly being set up to be an important character, having this kind of hard, unapproachable vibe, while also being the blue soul from Undertale Yellow, and a possible candidate to be a teammate in the future, an idea supported by the unused sprites in the game files. In the sprites we see a bunch of Dark World sprites for Melody, along with her face in the fight menu. We'll definitely get to see more of this character later and I can't wait for it. Maybe we'll even get an interaction with Axis that hopefully won't end in dismemberment. These 4 characters were the ones I wanted to talk about the most, seeing how they'll be extremely important in the present and the future of this story. I decided not to go into details for other characters such as Chujin for example, as we'll get our answers by Day 2. Now that this is over, we can head to the next section. Now, about this section. The fact that I love this game a lot doesn't mean I don't have any criticisms for how things are and how they are presented. I believe this game can be so much better, and out of love for this project, I wanted to express my full and honest opinions on it. And about these opinions, I've listed a couple of them, ranging from smaller concerns to bigger ones. Initially, I was also going to add a section for potential suggestions, but I decided to condense everything into this section, as it would feel pretty empty and incomplete to list stuff and not propose solutions immediately after.
Before we start, I wanted to clarify something. The rework basically fixed many of the problems that I pointed out in this section, so you will see on screen what has been fixed and to what degree it has been fixed, so you can have a better idea of how this game evolved after the rework.
Starting off with something small, stats being too high and money too little. We start off our journey being level 1, but already rocking an insane 60 plus attack on both Kanako and Cole. Not even Susie in regular Deltarune can reach 60 plus attack, even with the maximum offense build. And even if gameplay wise it doesn't change a thing, I believe that turning it down to maybe chapter 1 fun gang level would be nicer. About the money, in OG Deltarune farming money is easier and enemies reward more for a fight. Sure, OG Deltarune has more items to buy compared to this game, but I still think rewarding the player with more money couldn't hurt. Not enough original soundtracks. Pretty straightforward. The game almost entirely uses recycled tracks, coming from Undertale, Deltarune and Undertale Yellow, with maybe 1 or 2 remixes, but nothing especially noteworthy. I think this won't be a problem for long, but as it is now, I would really love to see more original soundtracks and new leitmotifs to keep an eye on for connections and theories and whatever. Not enough original liners. Deltarune Yellow is a parallel story to Undertale Yellow, so it's natural to find old characters living a normal life in this game. But the Lightward sections do not present any new characters for us to get attached to and explore. Excluding Melody, as far as I know, not even a single liner is original to this game, and it's a real shame. OG Deltarune sure has a lot of recurring characters from Undertale, but we also get Susie, Noelle, Joggington, Father Alvin and so on. I would love to see more original characters in the Lightward, to establish something unique about this game and not having it completely dependent on Undertale Yellow characters. Not enough Darkners and we don't care about them. While the Darkworld sections are fun and all, there's something missing from them, that being the absence of Darkners we care about. Think about it. In Deltarune Chapter 1 we have Ralsei, Lancer, Top Chef, Shom and so many more Darkners we care about. We love to see what they do and really makes the idea of them not being real really hurt. In the game as it is now, we really don't care about the Lightners and what happens to them. On day 2, the revelation that Darkners are not real should shock us and make us sad. But us and Kanako barely give weight to this information, and it really takes away from the experience of this game. Having more Darkners with more fleshed out personalities would really enhance the experience and get the player more attached to the world, especially on day 1, where our protagonists still don't know if Dark Worlds are real or not. No rewards for being kind or hurting others. This one is easy. Whether we fight or spare our enemies, there's no difference for the game, making it redundant to have two ways to deal with Darkners that lead to the same conclusion. This one was short but it bothers me a lot. Unredeemable villains and a flat idea of justice. Justice is an extremely important theme in this game, since we control Cole, who owns the yellow soul of justice, but in the current state of the game, this idea of justice really falls flat. Villains are comically evil. Pendleton is a thief that will never learn his lesson, Ringo is a torturer and Bering is a tyrant that hates us. There are many approaches to justice. Undertale Yellow itself showed us that justice could mean something different, depending on Clover's actions on the underground. In this game, justice just means lock everyone away and that's it. I think this idea can be explored better, and that brings me to my next point. Dark Prison is not a good hub. The Dark Prison is a permanent dark ward under the school. It's basically a lobby for us where the warden lives, gives us the wanted posters, and locks up the criminals we send him. The Dark Prison is supposed to be for Cole and Kanako what Castletown is for the Fun Gang, and in my opinion, the Dark Prison fails at doing that. Castletown is a map that houses the Darkeners we recruit along the way by being kind to them. It starts off as a lonely and melancholic place, only inhabited by the Lonely Prince, and chapter by chapter grows into the vibrant and beautiful town of Chapter 4, hosting one of the best soundtracks in the game, that being of course Castle Funk. On the contrary, the Dark Prison isn't a comforting place. The map itself is really small, and its emptiness is filled only by criminals and characters we don't really want to interact with. Sure, we have the Warden, and if you really like them, then Guy can also be a plus, but that's basically it. It doesn't instill in me the desire to be there, unlike Castletown. I propose an idea to have it being perhaps a better hub for the player and could offer a solution to the previous 2 points I raised. Instead of having just a prison, we could have a prison compound. Here's a little drawing I made to illustrate this. It's beautiful, I know. With a bigger map, maybe divided into 2 parts, one is dedicated to housing our prisoners, in a building with different floors. The top floors being for lesser criminals like Pendleton and Ringo, and the bottom being for those like Bering and Toaster, since these are clearly worse criminals than the first 2. The second half of the compound could be used to house Darkeners we spare along our journey. We could have shops and living areas similar to Castletown, where our friends could hang out. This would fix the problem of not having a real reason to spare our enemies, but would also fix the problem of having a flat idea of justice. The game could have its idea of justice oriented around how many Darkeners we spare. The more we spare, the more the game moves towards the idea of rehabilitative justice, of helping criminals to get better and making them good citizens again. On the other hand, the less Darkeners we recruit, the more our inmates become violent, desperate, or even defeated and depressed. moving towards punitive justice, of hurting them as much as they hurt others, giving the game more nuance and allowing it to develop darkness based off of our decisions. You know, in the good route we could maybe see a mini festival in the civilian area of the compound, where prisoners can enjoy a day out with the others, while giving the player special items or minigames. I think this would make an awesome hub for the player, and would encourage sparing all darkness necessary to make the compound as lively as possible. And now, for my biggest criticism, we have the executioner route. The executioner route is basically the weird route of this game. It starts in day 1, and as of now, to quote the GameJolt page itself, it's pretty bad and unfinished and doesn't carry to day 2. To access it, you need to force Kanako into using a deadly attack against the criminals in the wanted poster, killing them on the spot. We have to force Kanako into doing this 3 times. We get scolded by the warden, and Virgil, a town NPC, recruits us to get some explosives for him, and that's basically it. This weird route is not good, actually. It almost feels like, hey, Deltarune has a weird route, I should do that too, without planning much ahead, resulting in its momentary discontinuation. Our actions in the weird route are very severe and alter the story way too much and far too soon. In regular Deltarune, we force our will on Noelle, someone who isn't part of our main group, allowing the narrative to stay mostly the same except for those Noelle-centric parts. Here, we force our will on Kanako, the deuteragonist of this game. Anything we do to her will alter the story in a major way from the beginning, and I don't think the author is willing to make 2 games just to keep this iteration of a weird route alive. Still, I feel like this route has something good going on for itself, but was not executed in the best way. Considering the unique dynamic between Cole and Kanako, this route could express something deeper and more disturbing, and I might have an idea for it. The story between Kanako and Cole basically reads as a teen romance, being 2 teenagers that have a crush on each other while also having to deal with something, in this case the whole Dark Fountain business. And to have an effective weird route, we need to subvert this cute relationship in the worst way. During the executioner route, Kanako asks us if we went too far, and if we answer he deserved it, she answers, "You are right, we did nothing wrong, he had it coming. Sorry, I promise I won't doubt you anymore," adopting the twisted idea of justice that Cole is forcing on her, while also giving us supreme authority on what she should do. I think this is sufficient to build a deeper narrative on how their characters evolve through this. The way I could see Kanako evolve is by her becoming increasingly more shy, meek, and generally more distrustful of anyone that isn't Cole. Everything she does and says is purely to please Cole, in an unhealthy attachment to him, that she mistakes for love. Her unique personality begins to disappear. She doesn't draw if Cole doesn't like it. She stops practicing softball if Cole doesn't like it. She cuts ties with friends and family since Cole is everything she needs and she'll ever need, becoming the perfect stereotypical girl, with no individuality, and her life completely centered around her boyfriend. Cole, on the other hand, is the perpetrator of this abuse, the perfect stereotype of a dominating man. He develops an idea of justice that puts himself as the highest authority, high enough to sentence someone to death. I think this idea of justice could stem from a bigger problem that could be Cole's obsession with control. His control. Cole becomes more controlling of Kanako, that becomes his property. No love, no friendship, just doing whatever is necessary to keep her under his thumb. Maybe playing along with her teenage romance fantasies to reassure her that everything will go well if she just submits and shuts up. The Dark Worlds are his to conquer, and he'll do anything he needs to do to keep it all under control. Maybe, just maybe, if there's even the slightest hint at a separation between us the soul and Cole, maybe he can even grow tired of us and gain full control of himself, driving us away and exerting full control over himself and the game world.
Okay, so I actually wanted to end the video on that kind of a creepy note about what if Cole takes control of the save files, but I just finished the reworked weird route and yeah, I failed miserably at predicting what would happen. I mean, it was actually a suggestion, but it read more like a theory, so yeah. So this new weird route addresses a problem that I stated before. Basically, when we mess with Kanako, we mess with the entire story structure, so the new one is better, yeah. What happens in the new drought is basically that Kanako develops anger issues, and when we fight against the criminals, she almost kills them in a fit of rage. In my suggestion, Cole was the abuser, making Kanako do horrible things. In reality, now Cole is a really nice kid actually, stopping Kanako when she's about to do something really bad, and yeah. The position of Cole in this new drought though confuses me a lot. I mean, does he not realize that there's something seriously wrong with his friend? I mean, sure, it's Cole that orders her to attack criminals and stuff, but my impression as of now is that Cole is completely innocent and Kanako for some reason is acting up. Maybe this is a hint at a separation between the Soul and Cole, but this separation seems way too hidden, unlike the one in regular Deltarune. Personally, I think it aligns more with my idea of the player being an element of chaos that forces the game to take one path instead of another, but who knows. So yeah, Toast Emperor fucked me up and destroyed my interpretation. I love the new one, just, I'm pretty sad.
Damn, this section was a long one. I really needed to get this off my chest, and I hope you can now see how much potential this game can have. Now, I don't know if these ideas are feasible to implement or if they would actually be fun or interesting in the actual game, but for me it was surely a fun thought experiment, especially with the last two.
Okay, just a little finishing thought. I already had an outro recorded, I don't like it anymore, so I'm doing this instead. The rework is actually amazing, I love it, I loved every second of it, almost every second, fuck that forest, and completely destroyed whatever I was trying to make in this video. I mean, the video was already shit when I started, but at least it was accurate somewhat to the story. Now it's not completely at least. So that's where this video ends. I don't know if I'll abandon this channel or not, if I'll make some more Deltarune Yellow related content, if I'll make something completely different, or if I'll leave this channel to rot. I don't know. I guess thank you for watching, thank you Toast Emperor for the amazing game and for fucking me over. You definitely knew I was making this video, absolutely, yeah, sure. Not his fault, and we'll see around, maybe.